Good afternoon. Happy signing period eve, I guess this would be. Tuesday afternoon. This is the Tuesday Tiger Recruiting Show on PowerMizzou.com. The final episode, at least of 2021. Who knows? We don't know what we're doing on Thursday, much less, next summer and fall. But at least for this year, the final episode. Sean Williams will join me in a minute. I'm Gabe DeArmond. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us for a little bit before Missouri's class puts pen to paper or, email or fax or screenshot, however they may send their letters of intent in tomorrow morning and afternoon. Before we get to business, we need to take care of business, and that is to tell you one last time about Brandon Barnes and USA Mortgage. Brandon over at USA Mortgage here in Columbia can take care of you if you're in Columbia or anywhere in the state of Missouri. If you are looking for a new home, to refinance your current home, anything along those lines, he is going to provide you the best customer service. You can go to showmemortgage.com. You can get an online quote. You can email him at bbarnes@usa-mortgage.com or give him a call at either of the two phone numbers that are going to be on your screen. The rest of this show, if you're listening on the podcast, it's 573-818-2772 or 573-590-0001. Give Brandon a call. He's going to get the best rates he can give you the best customer service, and maybe even talk about Missouri's historic 2022 recruiting class, which is what Sean Williams and I are going to do for the next little bit. And Sean, it is the storm before the calm, I guess, because the way it appears, Missouri's class basically, at least at this point, came together pretty much by December 1st, and I guess a little bit before, a little bit of intrigue with one or two guys that we'll talk about a little bit later. But for the most part, it's always interesting to see how these things go, because the class is going to be the highest rated in school history, and there's this feeling at the end of like, oh, well, but what happened, man?
Yeah, I mean, that does happen, but I don't know. I guess it's a good thing. There's not going to be a lot of drama, that's for sure. I mean, I think just in terms of kids we're kind of waiting for is Zion Young, the defensive end out of Westlake, Georgia. Not sure if he's going to sign tomorrow or not. I know Florida just kind of jumped in the mix with him. So it could be a situation where Florida's saying, hey, man, don't sign early. Come visit us in January, and, you might become a Gator. So, but these things happen, whenever kids kind of decommit, reopen the recruiting process, it can go one or two ways. You get a lot more interest, or you get absolutely no more interest at all. So, but yeah, I mean, it's good in a way, though. You think about it, there may not be a lot of drama, but Missouri's going to sign their highest rated recruiting class regardless. So, and then they'll just kind of stack onto that as, January and February come to fruition as well. So.
I got to take myself off mute there again. I got issues. I do understand the people that are like, oh, these last couple weeks, missed out on some guys. I mean, we'll start. Pancake Hunter goes to Houston. From what I've been told, there was some family input there, and that's fine. I mean, Missouri's won situations like that, and they've lost situations like that. It happens.
Right.
Had some kids that didn't end up making visits. There was some hope, out there that, hey, maybe Gentry Williams, you could get him in on a visit from Oklahoma. There was some brief hope for some other transfers, whatever. That didn't end up necessarily coming together at the end, but still, I mean, this is, tied for the most 4 stars or higher Missouri has ever signed in the Rivals era. Has Luther Burden, the number 5 kid in the country. It's a good class. Whether it committed in May or June or October or December doesn't really matter. I know people love the drama at the end and the Dorial Green Beckham picks up the Missouri hat and all that. But this class isn't any different if Luther Burden does that tomorrow or did that on October 19th. It's still the same class in the end.
Right. And I mean, hey, look, Luther threw some a Georgia hat and a Alabama hat to the side to pick up a Missouri hat. So I mean, that was enough drama right there back in October. So uh but it's not a lot of drama. You did miss out on some guys you probably wanted. You mentioned Demetrius Hunter, obviously, a kid that come in for an official visit, and then he swung by Houston on Sunday, and
I I, I
Houston
agree with
got
the
him. So
fans. I mostly wanted him for the nickname and the memes.
well, I'm trying to figure out if Oklahoma did that pancake thing like Missouri did, with the pictures and everything. If they did that back on whenever he visited earlier, I don't know, So I noticed Houston did the same thing. So when they copy Missouri, or did Missouri copy somebody else? To be determined, but it doesn't matter now because he's going to Houston. So Dana Holgerson won out, unfortunately for Missouri. So yeah, these things happen though. And I think people were kind of surprised too because he's cousins with Marcus Scott, who is, obviously a Missouri commitment he's going to sign. And but I think there was more family interest in the cousin is signed with Missouri, as you said. But yeah, I mean these things happen though. Not a lot of drama, and but I mean, like I said, that's kind of a good thing. And you just kind of reassess the situation. There's probably going to be more people hit the portal, so you'll have options there. So you got all kinds of different options. You'll see who doesn't sign, and in the next 3 days. And if people don't sign, and I think they're kind of free to you're kind of free to be like, well, hey, they're probably open to listening. So probably have some more targets on the board. Try to get some kids in here in January too. So.
Yeah, there are some kids we're watching tomorrow. DJ Wesselak will have an announcement at 3:30 in Boonville. We've been fairly steady throughout, saying, "Hey guys, even I remember when DJ released a top 15 in I want to say that was May, and Missouri wasn't in it, right? And we legitimately told people the next day, just hang on, settle down. Missouri's going to have a shot at this at the end." And I would put odds at better than 50-50 that DJ Westlake is picking Missouri tomorrow afternoon. And, so there's your signing day drama. Now, people might not, they might want more of it. But, I mean, hey, a kid is going to have hats from Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and I may be messing up the Alabama, LSU, USC, Missouri, and somebody else. And we think he's going to pick up the Missouri hat. So, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, and, I know Rivals kind of dropped him back to 3-star status, but at one time he was a 4-star kid. And look, you want to talk about drama? DJ Westlake's recruiting process, top 15s without Missouri. Then Missouri's in it. And now LSU's trying, LSU got him on campus over the weekend trying to make a big push there. So, we'll see what happens. It's either way, like you said on the board, it's going to be the Tigers. Whether it's Missouri or LSU, we'll find out. But it's going to be one of those two, and we're pretty confident it's going to be Missouri.
And can we just use this as example number 879 and maybe the one that finally explains it? Look, I don't begrudge a kid for putting out a top 10 in May or whatever. But there's going to be another one in July and another one in September and another one in November. So, you got to quit freaking out about every social media post 9 months before signing day because, again, I don't begrudge the kids for doing it. It's fine, and people's minds change and things change. I'm not bashing the kid for doing it, but the whole, well, they're just seeking attention. Well, they're seeking attention because they freaking get the attention. I mean, settle down. They're all going to sign in December, and it doesn't really matter who their top 15 schools were in March of their sophomore year in high school.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as they release the top list, what do people do? They go to message boards and they start talking about it. So, and then they get on social media and talk about it and go, MIC, COU, or whoever else is in the top 15 or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it's that's drama too. And yeah, you mentioned it. A lot of kids do that in the summer, and then they're, they'll be like, hey, I'm gonna, not sign until February, but they're releasing top 10 lists, and then it's the top 8, then it's the top 5. and then it changes. I'm just ready for college coaches to start doing that whenever they change jobs. Just start releasing like a top 5 list of schools that they're interviewing with, and just kind of put it in order.
Because I mean, the truth about this whole thing is recruiting is like the middle-aged man version of a soap opera. Like it really is. Like, because the only thing that really matters in recruiting is December 19th or February 3rd or whatever, where the kid signs. The rest of it is just kind of all this dance about like, hey, maybe I like you. Do you like me? How do you feel? And then, hey, I died, but then I came back to life 2 months later, and I'm back on Days of Our Lives. Like, that's ultimately what this is. This is the male version of a soap opera.
Yeah, I mean, sports is the ultimate male soap opera, and then just recruiting is just like another chapter of that. So, we're fulfilling a lot of people's needs just covering it here. So we like to do our due diligence here at PowerMizzou.com.
We certainly are working hard. So the other guy that we're well, you mentioned Zion Young, so I just want to say I have absolutely no idea what's going on with the kid. I don't know if he'll sign. I don't know where he'll sign. I don't know, other than Michigan State, who else is in the mix. Do you know any more than I do?
It seems like, Michigan State, Missouri, which obviously those are the last 2 officials he took. But Florida just offered, like I mentioned earlier, and I think, that's probably something to kind of keep an eye on. I'm sure they're probably saying, hey, don't sign. Come take an official visit during January, and you could sign in February and see if you want to come here. So, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if, we've reached out to him. He hasn't gotten back to us. He has previously before the visit. So I guess he's kind of weighing his options, whether he wants to sign, but he's going to have 3 days to figure that out starting tomorrow. So we'll see what happens there.
Well, and that's another thing for people to realize is tomorrow is the first day of the early signing period, but that goes through Friday. So a kid does just because he doesn't sign tomorrow doesn't mean he's not signing. One announcement we know is coming on Friday. I know that you have signed up for Netflix Francais to follow Jeffrey Mbah's announcement on French television. Like, I've got to say, I mean, I've not seen this before.
It is a new in recruiting, apparently. And hey, look, international kids are really, recruiting international kids is really kind of becoming a thing, especially I've seen in this recruiting cycle. I know, I know there's a couple of groups that kind of come over here and they do camps during the summer. So they get a lot of college interest with their camps and how they perform there. And, there's a lot of international flavor going on. I know Vanderbilt recruits, got a couple of German kids on their team, now they're, one of them's playing high school football over here, but it's kind of a new thing. And with Jeffrey Mbah, he's going big time, man. French television. I mean, that's pretty huge. So we're going to watch it, and we're going to try to figure out what's going on with the language, and we'll see. But we'll just figure out what hat he picks.
But I mean, are we going to watch it? Because I don't even know what time it is. I don't know how to watch it. I don't know any of those things.
Maybe I'll just put him on notifications on Twitter or Instagram and just go with that.
That sounds like a better idea. I don't know. I haven't done the demographics of the Auburn fans versus Miami fans versus Mizzou fans in Marseille or wherever he might be announcing at. But I'm interested to see what the viewership is for that, But look, that would I think that's the guy left on the board that you look at and go, well, I mean, this would be huge for Missouri because they need defensive tackles. He's obviously a guy who can come in and hopefully play right away. I mean, I saw his junior college coach. The comp he made was if he kind of fulfills everything that people think is Calais Campbell from LSU. I would like that guy on my team. That sounds good.
Yeah, and I mean, Missouri, I think, I know everybody's like, well, maybe he's going to pick Auburn, but, Missouri did a really good job. I mean, they got him on campus for an unofficial for one day. And, whenever he announced he was taking his last official to Missouri, I got him on the phone and he said, man, I really loved it at Missouri. When I went and took that unofficial for a day, it's like, I like Coach Davis. Coaches treated me great, treated me like family. I love the environment up there. I want to go back for an official visit, check it out. So, we'll see. He's not doing any interviews now leading up to his decision, so we'll see if Missouri kind of, did what they could there on that official visit. And I think it was the final one he took. He was going to take one to Oregon, but obviously Cristobal took off to Miami, so we'll see what happens.
This whole thing with not only with coaches changing, but with the early signing period, and like you've referenced a couple times, teams maybe telling kids, "Hey, maybe just hang on, just wait another couple months." I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think this whole early signing period thing has had the impact that coaches and the NCAA thought it would. Like, I've always said, if you're going to have an early signing period, have it in like July and just tell kids, look, you don't get an official visit before this. If you know where you want to go and there's no doubt, then go ahead and sign in July. Cool. Otherwise, we're going to do this whole thing in February again, and we're going to quit firing coaches in week 4 so we can get an early jump. And I just – every decision the NCAA makes, and this one is no exception, is like – it solves one problem, and then it creates 19 more that all of a sudden the NCAA is like, oh, man, we never thought about that.
Well, the timing of coaching changes goes, like directly with the early signing period. So, when the coaching changes are made and you got kids that are committed, it's almost like speed dating, in a sense. So, yeah, I agree. I think, and I've seen like reports where maybe the NCAA is going to change the rule and maybe eliminate it altogether, or maybe I like the summer idea too. If you're dead set on knowing where you're going, just go ahead and sign. If there's a coaching change, you've got time to, get out of that and, figure out what you're going to do from that point on. So, it's just bad timing, in the middle of December, and you've got coaching changes going on, you've got coaching searches going on. So you might be committed to a school that's still having a coaching search, or, and that's obviously dramatic, and, especially for people that want to, be a mid-year enrollee. So, I think they need to get rid of it, to be honest with you.
And other things, I mean, coaches are preparing for bowl games. Like last weekend, which was the last official visit weekend, like Nick Saban and Ryan Day and Jim Harbaugh are in New York with their players at the Heisman ceremony. Like, what are we doing here? This is the dumbest possible time they could have put it at. And then the other thing is, think about so Virginia just hired Tony Elliott, 5-6 days ago, something like that, right, as a head coach. To my knowledge, he has not announced a single assistant coach. I mean, there might be a couple, and this could affect Missouri because Curtis Luper's name has been out there. But, it's obvious college coaches sit here and go, all right, well, signing day's in 6 days, so I'm going to do this work about the staff I want, and guys might not actually be at the school they're at right now, but I want all these kids to sign letters, and then we're just going to toss their whole damn world upside down and change assistant coaches across the country. It's idiotic, and every bit of it screws the kids.
Yeah, I mean, and going back to the coaching changes, and you mentioned that it's not just head coaches, it's assistant coaches, because when new head coaches come in, they're going to get rid of assistants and bring in their own guys. So, I mean, there's just a lot of massive overhaul with coaching staffs, and when these kids, commit to a school, it's usually because of the relationship with their position coach or area coach, so it's not just the head coach. So, yeah, a lot of factors go in. Like I said, just bad timing to do it, in the middle of December with everything going on. And like you said, you got a situation like Tony Elliott where he's, 5-6 days in. He's not going to change anybody on the staff until after, pens get put to paper and faxes come in. And then he's going to be like, okay, it's time to overhaul everything. So it leaves the kids in a bad spot.
But damn those kids for wanting to transfer schools and wreck college football through the transfer portal, right?
Hey, man, as long as you can do it one time and not be punished for it, it's all good. So.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions, and if you guys have other questions, we got quite a few people on here watching live. If you got questions, put them over in the queue. We'll get to them here in the last few minutes of the show. Colby says, Pancake Hunter was a miss, but was it really that big of a miss for the staff? Because if I remember correctly, they like Deshaun Woods at center. And, I mean, yes, Pancake Hunter was a miss in that they offered him, brought him in for an official visit, and didn't get him. But, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, Sean, had you ever heard of Demetrius Hunter? Because I hadn't.
Not really. And honestly, whenever Missouri offered Demetrius Hunter, I don't think Demetrius was hearing a lot from Missouri before they offered him. So, he said whenever I reached out to him whenever they offered, and he said, "Hey, man, I just heard of them whenever they offered. So I just talked to Coach Johnson just yesterday. So, yeah, I think it was just kind of one of those. I think they saw a need and like, hey, he can be he maybe could be the full time center role, and you could. Deshaun Woods is kind of a guy that can flex out the guard and maybe play tackle. So, but I think they might have saw like a true center type position with him, and that's why they kind of went after him. So, but yeah, I mean, it is a miss. They wanted him, and he went to Houston. So these things happen, though. So just got to, Missouri's had a lot of wins, and look, this one's a loss. So you just got to move on.
And I still think Missouri's going to go after a transfer center. Mike Mayody's leaving after this year. I still think they're going to look for somebody in the portal over the next few weeks at that position. Jake asks, what's the best possible finish for the class? So I'm looking at our rankings right now. Missouri is 17th. Oklahoma picked up a commitment today and passed Missouri for 16th. So Missouri is 17th. Honestly, the class ranking might kind of come down to how many kids do they sign that count toward it, because we count 20, but there is a chance that Missouri doesn't get to 20 high school or junior college commits, and our rankings do not currently include transfers, so that could be impacted. I still would be surprised if this class isn't somewhere between 15 and 20 by the first Thursday in February.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's going to be a mix. And I agree with you. I don't think they'll get to 20 high school or JUCO guys. I think there's going to be transfer options, and obviously there's a couple we've been talking about on the board. I don't know if those will pan out, but there's a lot of options out there in the transfer portal. I think they're going to take advantage of those, and they'll look and see if there's any good quality high school kids left that didn't sign or still on their board. But yeah, I don't know if they'll get to quite the 20 with high school JUCO signings, to be honest with you.
So I was kind of looking at these class rankings, and I find it pretty interesting this year, Sean. I mean, look, Alabama's 1, Georgia's 2. Georgia's 1, Alabama's 2. Whatever, that happens every year. Texas A&M is 3, so the SEC has the top 3 classes in the country. But then it's kind of interesting. The 4th best class in the SEC is South Carolina. 5th is Arkansas, 6th is Kentucky, 7th is Missouri. Like, these are not the SEC schools that we're used to seeing filling out the top half, right? Like, there's no Florida, there's no Auburn, right. There's no LSU. Like, I think it would be great if over the next couple years, like Missouri and Arkansas and Kentucky and South Carolina are actually kind of getting up into that range, because they even out the talent pool in the conference, and it becomes a little bit more interesting. I mean, it would be great to see Georgia and Alabama down at like 27 and 32 at some point. I don't think that's going to happen, but after the first 2, there's a little more parity this year than there's been.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good for the SEC, to be honest with you. Just more parity and more guys. And I think, you see a lot of kids probably seeing more opportunities at places like Arkansas, South Carolina. I mean, Beamer's kind of at South Carolina has been known to be a good recruiter, so it's not really a huge surprise to see him haul kids in that are highly rated. And, Sam Pittman's doing a really good job at Arkansas right now. I know Missouri fans probably don't like to hear that, but hey, he is. So, but, if Alabama's going to go down to like 20, man, they just got to, when Nick Saban leaves, they just got to hire Mike Shula again. So I think that'll take care of that.
Right, and Tennessee's at 21, and Vandy's actually at 25. Like, what kind of odds could you get in February if you said, all right, December signing period, there's going to be 9 SEC schools in the top 25, and LSU and Florida aren't going to be there, and neither is Auburn?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people would have thought that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. Duncan Robbins wants to know, what about linebackers? We have seen them offer – I believe there were a couple of transfer linebackers. I mean, I know they offered one from UNLV who ended up going to Michigan State, and then I can't remember if there was another transfer linebacker that Missouri offered or not, but I still think they're going to look for one here in the next couple months. And what people have to understand is after bowl games, there's going to be a whole nother wave of these kids looking to leave.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the linebacker, we've talked about this before in previous episodes. I mean, the linebacker spot, what you got left, what you're looking for, that's got transfer portal written all over it. Obviously, we've seen them offer some kids already, or at least the UNLV kid, and he ended up going to Michigan State. There's going to be other options out there that they'll go after in the transfer portal to fill the linebacker spot. I think they want somebody to come in that spot and play right away. So that's where that's probably going to end up.
And then Zach is asking, have you picked out your signing day outfit? Sean, are you big fashion? Are you going to be tweeting out Instagram Live with what you're wearing tomorrow morning?
Negative. I mean, we're not supposed to be on a podcast, although I am going to be on the Vanderbilt podcast, but I'm probably just going to look like this right now. So, yeah, nothing special about that. Even though Vanderbilt's got a top 25 class, I'm not going to spruce up for the Commodores.
Right. I've got to I've got to cover a press conference at 2:00 tomorrow, so I can promise that I will be wearing pants. Beyond that, I don't really have any rules.
Well,
Tom wants to know why Wesselak
press conference without pants. That's a bad thing.
Yeah, that's a bad look, man. Tom wants to know why DJ Wesselak's rivals rating went down. I mean, the truth is he's played 5 games in 2 years, and to be honest, a lot of the people who have seen him play have said he's got a ways to go. I mean, I think his rating now is probably a little bit more toward where he should have been all along. Now, he's got a lot of physical tools. None of that is saying he can't be a good college player, but I think it's like market correction, to be honest.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And not just really the amount of games, but probably just his film and just his technique and things like that. He probably got a lot of stuff to work on, even though he's got physical tools. And you see teams take a flyer on guys like that. Now, and look, going back to international players, I mean, there's guys out there that are big and they test well, and teams will take a flyer on those type of guys. And Wesley just, I think he kind of lacks experience. Like you said, he's played 5 games in the last couple of years, so. Maybe his film kind of reflects that in terms of his technique and everything like that. So that's something obviously Missouri's going to have to work on. But if he's, if he's coming in to play defensive line, you're not going to be playing as a true freshman right away on the defensive line, unless you're Mikhail Wingo, of course. But, that's another story.
Well, and the truth is, I've been here for 19 years, and I don't think Boonville's ever had a D1 football player that I remember. So, he's not playing the greatest competition. And so
right.
It's a little bit more of a project. It's going to take a minute, and that does not mean that it's exactly the kind of kid that Missouri should take a chance on, right? Local kid,
right.
Got all the physical tools. Let's see if we can bring him in here and turn him into a player, and that's worthwhile. We're suddenly getting a flood of questions, so we'll run through them as quickly as we can here and finish out. Kyle wants to know, are they still targeting any running backs? So. Sean, I know you messaged with was it DeAnthony Gaston? Is that his name? A couple nights ago?
Yeah. I actually got this in the preview tomorrow for the primer, for the signing day primer. But yeah, the linebackers, the running backs, obviously 2 that we've mentioned and we mentioned quite frequently of late is DeAnthony Gaston. Obviously, he was the longtime USC commitment. I reached out to him. He surprisingly got back to me finally. And I just asked him if he was hearing anything from Missouri staff, and he said no, not lately. So it appears that they, I guess they offered him like a day after he decommitted from USC. That was back in probably September. Maybe there's a little bit of communication there at first, and maybe that's kind of dropped off. Obviously, Andrew Paul's the other one the running back out of Dallas, had like a monster year. Obviously, he came in for an unofficial visit in November. Didn't get a lot of feedback from him just after the visit. He's kind of one of those, doesn't like to talk a lot. But he did say he liked the visit. That's about all I could really get out of him. He did take a official visit to Colorado over the weekend. So I don't know if he's going to sign this early signing period, or if he's going to kind of maybe wait and see if he can take some other visits, check out some other schools in January and wait till February to sign. Don't know where things stand with that. So I would say the odds of taking a running back in, the next 3 days is probably unlikely, and they'll probably, wait till February to see what happens and what pops up.
Yeah, and see who hits the portal, because I think that's a position Missouri could definitely use a transfer at. Yep. Steve McDonald wants to know, what do you think Sam Horn's baseball career at Mizzou looks like? I think this is actually pretty interesting, because to me, Quarterbacks ain't skipping spring football, man. Like, it sounds good to say I'm coming here to play football and baseball, but if you want to be the starting quarterback, I don't see that being a two-sport thing, to be honest.
The interesting thing is not with Sam, and I haven't really, I've talked to him after his official, but I didn't really talk a lot of baseball with him. But I did talk a lot of baseball with Brett Norfleet, the 2023 commitment. And, obviously same situation with him. He's going to be playing baseball. He's a pitcher. I asked Brett, I was like, how much of your visits have been kind of curtailed around baseball and talking to the baseball coaches? He's like, oh, none. So while he is going to play baseball at Missouri, it seems like the primary sport he will be playing and focusing on is football. So it is kind of interesting, Gabe, that you kind of bring up, hey, there's spring practice. I doubt those guys would be available to play baseball for spring practice, So I think they'll just be available after spring practice is over. So because that's just kind of the vibe I get.
Look, the rule is the scholarship comes from the sport with more scholarships. So that's always football.
Right.
And football's the one paying $60,000 a year for Sam Horn to go to school. So that's where the priority goes. And again, quarterback's just different than any other position on the field. Like, you can't just skip those 3 weeks and have it be okay. So I would be very, very surprised. So we're starting to get questions about next year's schedule and Conzo Martin. And, look, guys, I appreciate that you guys want to know everything and we're online and you want to ask that, but this is the recruiting show and tomorrow is signing day, so that's kind of where we're focused at right now. And, yeah, I don't know. Like we started, Sean, we'll kind of finish. I mean, tomorrow, outside of DJ Westlak's announcement, should be relatively drama-free, but surprises aren't surprises if you expect them, right? So who knows? Some kid who's been committed somewhere else for 6 months all of a sudden could sign, or we could get a Charles Harris situation where Missouri tweets out, hey, this kid signed, and we have to go and find out, I don't know who the hell this kid is. Anything can happen. And but I've said for years, I don't know, I consider it our job to make sure fans aren't surprised on signing day. So I guess if you're surprised on signing day, we've done our jobs, and sorry, we've done our jobs.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure there's definitely probably some kids out there that they want to kind of keep under the radar. We don't know if that happened over the weekend or not, but it's very possible. And, there might be some announcement of some, hey, this transfer from FCS school just signed with us, so he's part of the class too. So go look him up, okay, guys?
Yeah, so we'll be at it early tomorrow morning. And Sean, appreciate you hanging out and bringing all of your knowledge to kind of correlate with my smartassness on this show all year long. So
it's a great mix.
It really is. Appreciate it, man. Thanks, and man. We will talk to you bright and early tomorrow.
Yep. Later.
All right, that is Sean Williams, our recruiting editor. He really runs the show. Mitch and I just kind of hang out and help him out when he needs help. But he's the guy with all the recruiting knowledge, which is why we have him every single week on this show. And have throughout the fall. Again, this may come back next year. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But appreciate Brandon Barnes for being partners with us on this thing all fall long. You can reach out to Brandon at showmemortgage.com. He's the guy that's going to hook you up with whether it's refinance, whether you're buying a new home, anything you want to do. You need mortgage advice, get in touch with Brandon Barnes, former Mizzou football player, former Mizzou football staffer, former athletic department staffer. Get in touch with him. He's going to hook you up with the best rates, the best customer service, everything you need to save yourself a little bit of money. Maybe buy season tickets next year or something with the cash you save with Brandon. So showmemortgage.com. You can get an online quote there. You can talk to Brandon. Email at bbarnes@usa-mortgage.com. On the phone at 573-818-2772. Appreciate you guys being with us. This has been certainly one of our most popular shows, probably our most popular show all fall long. So appreciate those of you who have taken some time out on Tuesday afternoons to join us live. If you are here live, hit the like button before you leave. Subscribe to the channel for whatever may come next on our live streaming broadcast. If you're listening on the podcast, just leave a nice review, say some nice things, share what we're doing. Thanks, guys. So Wednesday, no streaming because we're going to be covering signing day, 6 a.m. to like 10 p.m. Thursday, Mitchell Forty and I will be back with the 573 report, which normally runs on Wednesday, day late this week, so we can wrap up signing day and all that. And then everything after that kind of TBD. But appreciate you guys who have been hanging out with us here for 4 months and kind of a new thing we did in 2021. I hope to continue it, and we will talk to you all later.